My name is Anita Taves. I'm from Architects Design Group, and I'm here to tell you about this beautiful house that's standing behind me. This home was built by Harry Boyd Earhardt and his wife Carrie. It was in 1911 Harry Boyd Earhardt bought a struggling oil company, the White Star Refinery, that was located in Buffalo, New York. And he brought the headquarters to Michigan, to Detroit, and there he did remarkably well with his company, especially since it was the time that the automobile was on the rise as well. In 1917, he sold the White Star Refinery, and with some of the money that he made on that sale, he bought over 400 acres of land right along the Huron River. At that time, he called this place the Meadows. There was another house standing on this site at the time that he bought it, and he moved in with his family and his 3 children. They lived in that home for almost 15 years, and then at the age of 66, Harry Earhardt decided that he wanted a new house built on this property, and it should be something special. So the existing house that was here was moved approximately a quarter of a mile down the road into a lovely apple orchard on a cul-de-sac, and Mr. Earhardt's grandson lives there to this day. So in 1936, he had this house built. The house was designed by Smith Hinchman Grills, a company, an architectural firm in Detroit. And the style of the house can really be called French eclectic. This style became popular in this area shortly after World War I. It was mainly used in the 1920s and 30s in this part of the country. But soldiers who had been in the war returned home to the United States, and they were very familiar with this French style of architecture, and they liked it, and they wanted to use it in houses that were being built. So that's the style that was chosen for this home. One of the most prominent characteristics of a French eclectic house is the roof that's very steep and is hipped, and it has flared eaves. And if you look at the roof on this house, you will definitely notice those characteristics. Some other things that you see when you look at this home are that the roof has a ridge that's running parallel to the main part of the house. That was also very characteristic of French eclectic architecture. The plan is asymmetrical. It's almost a little L-shaped with a little curved piece in the corner where the 2 pieces meet. It has a limestone exterior. There are copper flashings, copper gutters and downspouts. You also see 2 small dormers that have the same copper covering on the roof. And the front door is half wood paneling, half glass, with a fan light above the doorway. Here we're looking at the side of the house, and you can also see one of the 2 porches. This one on the west side. There's another similar one on the east side. Has a pretty interesting sky-painted ceiling in this porch, but one of the really lovely things on this side of the house is the bay window. There are 2 bay windows on the house, one at either end, and you can also see the windows above it, which are steel windows with shutters on either side. The detailing on this building is really wonderful. You see some wrought iron railings, but one of the things that I really like are the limestone cherubs that are at the top of these columns holding up this outdoor balcony. They've been beautifully executed, each one of them a little bit different. Pewabic tile is everywhere in this house. Mrs. Earhardt was a real fan of Pewabic tile. Mary Chase Stratton started the Pewabic Pottery Company in the early 1900s in Detroit, and there are many, many public buildings that have this kind of tile in them. However, most residences could only afford to do it around their fireplaces. So there were probably hundreds, if not thousands, of houses upper class houses that had this tile around their fireplace. However, Mrs. Earhardt decided she wanted more of it than just the fireplaces. So although you do see it in the fireplaces inside the house, you will also find upstairs in her bathroom that she has an entire bathroom covered in Pewabic tile. And here you see beautiful tiles that have been made for this outdoor drinking fountain. And you also saw it in a reflecting pond that is outside the house here in the backyard. The final place you will see Pewabic tile is downstairs in the billiard room, where there is a crest of the Earhardt family, all done in Pewabic tile. The exterior of the house was beautifully landscaped, and the gardens were designed by the Olmsted firm of Brookline, Massachusetts. For those of you who might remember, Frederick Law Olmsted was the designer of many beautiful gardens, including Central Park. He also did the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina, and he also was the planner for the entire site of the Chicago World's Fair. Even today, if you go to the Frederick Law Olmsted National Historic Site in Massachusetts, you will find 98 plans for the Earhardt Manor grounds that are on display there. Even before this beautiful manor was built, the Earhardts went to the Olmsted firm and asked them to do some drawings for them for these lovely yards and gardens. He designed the gazebo, the greenhouse. There were riding trails for the family. There were large daffodil gardens. Rose gardens, even today, are being restored according to the Olmsted design. And even the reflecting pool was designed by the Olmsted firm. In the front that we previously saw, there is still one beautiful Japanese lilac tree near the front door that still survives from the original site development. This chandelier in the stair landing is original to the house, has been beautifully restored, but one of the most interesting things you see is if you look up from the chandelier to the rosette on the ceiling, you will see some holes through it. Above this space, the children, the Earhardt children, would pull up a little secret door, and they could look through the holes down into the entryway to see what kind of parties their parents were having. Another one of the interesting details inside the house is this old phonograph. It's in a closet right here next to the front entry, and music was piped from this area into all the different rooms of the house. Here we are inside the beautiful dining room. You'll see a lot of wonderful wood paneling inside, and some bookcases on the wall. And just like many an old house, behind the bookcase is a secret passageway down to the basement. We're upstairs on the third floor now, looking at the ballroom. This was a space where the family children performed little plays for their parents. There's also a projection room so that they could show home movies. Or one of the most important things that happened up here is that there would be recitals. The Earhardts were big supporters of the arts, and they often had University of Michigan music students that they would invite to their home to put on performances here for themselves as well as their friends. Harry Boyd Earhardt lived in this house until 1954, when he died. It was in 1961 that the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, bought a large portion of the meadows of this property for a new school of theirs, Concordia University. The school was built within a few years, and they've occupied it ever since. At first, this house was used only for faculty offices, and then later as a student union. But in 1997, they decided that they would restore the house to its former beauty. So they hired the architectural firm of Architects 4, who restored this beautiful house and returned it as a residence to its former glory.